And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item of businesses. We want to welcome Ryan Danner to our board table. Ryan was interviewed along with 3 other candidates. Was that a week ago? About a week ago. And was chosen by the board to fill the seat. Was by appointment. So welcome to the board table, and we're happy that you'll be here and be part of our team. So Ryan will be can participate, but it cannot vote for the next 30 days by state statute. So, okay, having said that, all board members are present except for Rob Langheim, who's traveling, wasn't able to be here. Okay, next we have the consideration of the agenda, and I'm going to recommend that we pull item 6.4, the facility use policy, and we're going to move that down and make that 7.0 the first action item. And then just a few minutes ago, we added 7.13, Hope, I presume, 7.13. It is a request for leave of absence by Tracy Mullenbach, so a leave request. Okay. Any other?
That's 7.13.
Yeah, I don't have it.
7.1.
Oh, yeah,
13.
7.13.
Yeah,
Is that what you
that's
said?
what I said.
I thought,
I thought
yeah,
it
I
said
thought,
7.1.
I did too.
No, I said 7.13. I thought I did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't have it. Go all the way down. I am all the way down.
Refresh.
Under action item.
Refresh. You have to refresh.
Like, you like,
Legit just added it.
so you.
Okay,
go
any
all-
other
okay.
changes to the agenda?
Got it now.
Is there anything else that anybody wants pulled from consent? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nobody has indicated that they're here for public comment. So with consent items, we have the minutes from June 10th and June 24th. Regular meeting on the 10th, special meeting and workshop on the 24th. We have the June monthly finance reports. We have donations, $45 for the food shelf from Mighty Cause, and $100 for TRAP from Schwart Enterprises. We have the resignation of track assistant coach Scott Hannon, resignation of golf high school coach Samantha Kraft, resignation of middle school choir teacher Elizabeth Egger, resignation of elementary school special ed paraprofessional Eileen Dalton, new hire elementary school building secretary Eileen Dalton at grade 1 step 6, new hire activities administrative assistant Krista Halverson at grade 2 step 6, new hire middle school fax teacher Casey Rothmeyer at a BA step 1, and new hire of elementary school teacher Adam Larson at a MA9. And then we have, I won't read them off, but we have all the contract renewals for all of the spring coaches. So I'll entertain a motion to approve consent.
So moved.
Sandy?
Second.
Connie? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, as promised, would you like to come up to the podium? Our next item is 7.0, the facilities use policy. We met for about 2 hours this afternoon, 2+ hours, working on policies, and the first policy we tackled was the facility use policy, and we have Stephen with us tonight to address the changes that we'll be voting on.
Yeah, so throughout the course of this year, we just basically established or found new things that we needed to add and some different language that needed to be cleaned up based on some differences. We've gone through joint powers and have made suggestions of a lot of different things and came up with what we have here. And then you want me to just walk through each of the changes?
Please.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So as we go down, the first one is it's all listed in red, which would be changed. We added a C in facility things are left the way that they were at the beginning. So, moving down into facility fees, with tier 2. We have changed the language a little bit. Taken out PTO, Spanish clubs, dollars for scholars, and basketball, just to say student-led activities, board-approved clubs, and varsity teams will not be charged the facility rental fees. Reason for the PTO, Spanish clubs, dollars for scholars, is they're addressed further down in the other tiers. PTO being one that is an organization which, if we give them free facility use, it is a donation which the school district cannot donate space to a local nonprofit. So. And then tier 3 language was confusing this year. We had a couple different organizations that came in and says, well, it says you will not be charged, which I think tier 3 rates, we had organizations coming in to rent space that we would typically charge a tier 3 rate. So we've taken out that language and cleaned that up a little bit so that it's easier. We've also taken out the portion that talks about tier 3 and whether or not they have proceeds that are being donated to a local community or put into the community. We added in tier 4 personal use. We've had some people come in and want to just rent space for personal use, so we just added that as a portion to it. And stop me if you have questions, please. Tier 6, I added local sports and athletic associations, so we don't have outside sports associations coming in and when you wanted to use our space on a regular basis. And clean this up, we originally had PTO and scouts in another version, have taken that out again, but we've also added a non-school sponsored youth associations such as our scouts, our PTOs, 4-H, where they would typically just use the classroom space once a week for the entire school year. And so instead of having to charge them a tier 3 rate for hourly rate for the entire year, which would be an extreme amount, flowing them into the tier 6, which would, they usually use the classroom, just charging them $25 for the year for those that are youth, local youth, non-school sponsored youth associations. So they would just pay a yearly $25. That gives our scouts the opportunity to use the space without having them acquire the hourly rate. So, and then as we go on further, it's the different fee structure. Ames Field was $400. We wouldn't really get anybody. We actually had a few people look at it and say, no, that's too much. So we brought that down a little bit to $250 for tier 5.
250 per
Can I ask
all.
a question on tier 6? I'm sorry, I know you moved along, for the local sports, is this just for the circ or is this also for field space?
This field space too.
Okay, so our local youth athletics, JBA, JBA, all soccer, all of that, they're charged $100 per team for the entire school year?
Yep.
Entire calendar year?
Well, it's their entire season.
Entire season, okay,
That's just for practice.
right,
Yep.
okay.
Ames Field's $250 an hour then.
Yes.
For a tier 5. And then we added a bunch of different space. We never had tennis courts on there. You know, our bounce house, we have a bounce house down here that could be rented out. I could see parties and everything. Just different spaces and equipment that we've encountered over the course of this year where we've been like, we have no idea what to charge. So.
So when we have the local guys, the old man people, come play old man tennis, old man basketball, youth, but are they now being charged a fee?
You know, those are run through community education and then open gym time.
Perfect, okay.
And Mark, that brings up a good point, and you can elaborate on this, Stephen, but one of the things that Steve has started to do is work with groups that are interested in being a partner with the community ed programs. So then if they're under the community ed umbrella, they're not subject necessarily to these fees, if that makes sense. When it makes sense for them to be a partner with community ed, an example of that would be, I know you're working with the soccer organization right now.
Yep, so the soccer, River Valley United works with us, we do all their registration and everything, so because they run their program through community education, they don't encounter rental fees. It's in partnership with us. Football Association's doing the same thing, as they're getting started up. And I don't know if there's anything more down.
Nope.
A few more things on the equipment charges.
We, this one in particular I can speak to, and I know this was the sound system, and this is the system that was donated essentially through the Jib Poly donation. It's pretty high tech, it's very expensive, so we don't want just anybody using that, so we wanted to make sure that there was a fee added in for outside groups, and a technician required, and you can see that is denoted right here with the asterisk.
Any questions for Stephen? Thoughts?
Looks good.
Okay.
Connie, I'm gonna put you on the spot,
I
because
was-
you do this in Shakopee. In terms of the rental rates, you know, obviously you've studied this, you've looked at it, you've been part of some of our meetings, providing that, more of that insight, input from somebody who does this on a daily basis. Do you feel like they're fair and reasonable?
I think they're fair and reasonable. 25 bucks was a little steep for me, but for the groups, because Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, you know,
Yeah.
I could see like charging for their Pinewood Derby, charging for
Mhm.
things like that, more expensive. But, you know, we're 20 at Shakopee, so, you know, whatever, I think 25, they'll get used to it. And whatever.
We started out this afternoon, it was at 100, and that, to that very point, Connie, I brought up, I said, like, 4-H, they don't have any money. I mean, they don't have,
Exactly.
so, but in order to fulfill the legal part of it about not, GASB
Can't
and not
donate.
being able to, that you have to, can't have groups like that not pay because of taxpayer dollars and stuff, so we kind of felt that 25 was doable.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have them pay, then no one has to pay, right? I mean, that's the deal. Everyone's gotta be on the same.
Well,
We
yeah.
discussed,
Level.
we discussed
Yeah, that's what
equal
you-
access,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
you know, so we, Ryan, for your benefit, we have equal access policy that we can't deny anybody use of the space, but, that's why we have this tiered system in place. You know, there's wear and tear in classrooms, so we wrestled with, we talked about 100, we talked about 10, we talked
Yeah.
about 5, we talked about $1.
We talked about one.
So I think the landing point was the 25, and we'll have to evaluate to see
Well,
how.
and I mean, so if you have typically Cub Scout or Girl Scouts, a group of 10 to 12, so they'd have to give $3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, you know,
That-
they could,
yeah, we felt that
and
was
Scouts
doable.
meet every week or every other week. 4-H only meets once a month, so that, you know, that's the, you know, it is what it is. And I mean, I'm looking at your building supervisor fees. I would, it just seems fair. The big thing is most people buck about the Ames Field, and that's the one you most want to be protective of, you know, your turf, you know, whatever, because you don't want that wrecked, you know, whatever, and once you start getting some of these big organizations coming in, they think, well, we do that all the time. Well, we do ours all the time, and we run our, you know, we have to have our own supervisors and stuff there, you know, whatever, but I think it looks really fair.
What is typical rental fees for turf? Is it
Shakopee's 300
Shakopee's 300?
for their associations.
Okay.
So I think that it seems fair, I mean, you're just that much further, you can always let it go for a year and then raise it next year, you know.
Like
see
that band group that comes every summer?
They didn't come this year.
Oh, okay. Darn.
It'll get, you'll start getting calls because there's, bigger groups now coming for parades for some reason, and they want places to practice. They just wanna
Mhm.
say,
And we did have that, that's what they came here for,
Yeah,
right?
they came to practice. Mhm.
Yeah,
so
we did
that's,
have that.
that will be, you know, once these get full, then they'll just be moving out that much further.
Right. And there is still gonna be a charge for, like, if the PTO has their craft sale and the Pinewood Derby, they're,
For events and.
for events, yeah.
Fundraisers.
Mhm.
And what tier do those fall under?
They will be, it'll be a tier 3 rate, hourly rate for the big event.
Because one of the things in our discussion today that we struggled with was charging the Education Foundation and the Booster Club, you know, they're making money for the district, so we had to work around that, but.
It's like the crafter that comes in, he uses the surf, and they have
Mhm.
vendors that are selling things, and so.
Yeah.
They're making money off our facility, basically.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, we need a motion for this, because you need to get this up and running.
That's right.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Tom, is there?
Second.
Connie seconds. Further discussion?
Looks good.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for staying. Go home and enjoy your family. Thank you very much. Okay, 7.1, review and act on the resolution filling the school board vacancy by appointment. That would be approving Ryan. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Hope, it's the top box.
What did I write down on it, Sandy?
What's that?
I have a note on it.
I
Oh,
would-
Jesse began March 12th, 18. His term ends on 12/31/22, or 1/1/19. He resigned 6/3/19. Is that option 1?
I would say option 1, yep. So whereas the vacancy occurred more than 90 days prior to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November in the year the vacancy occurred and prior to the 4th year of the vacant term. So that would be the first, that
Well,
box.
He's in his first year.
Yeah, prior to the 4th year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the second one is, I mean,
But if it's less than.
Less than
No,
90
less
is
than
the
90
second one.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
believe me, I
Got
read
it.
this 100 times this
I'm sure,
afternoon.
I
I'm
know,
sure.
so I wrote down every single date.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's, yeah.
So it's the first one, and then, now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 717, State of Minnesota, as follows, again, the first one, pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section
Yeah.
123B09, subdivision 5B, Ryan Dannert is hereby appointed to fill a vacancy and serve until a successor is elected and qualified. The appointment shall be effective 30 days after the adoption of this resolution, unless a valid petition to reject the appointee is filed with the school district clerk pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 123B09, subdivision 5BB, within the 30-day time period. So I will entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Sandy. Discussion?
Do we need a
Hearing
roll
none.
call?
Huh?
You need a roll call for this?
Yeah, roll call, please.
Deb Collins,
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Sandy Burke.
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. 7.2, review and act on the resolution calling for the referendum special election. So this is on the levy, correct? Yes,
Mr.
please.
Pumper, can you address this?
Yeah,
Since
we
you
invi-
do this on a
Yeah.
routine basis.
This is Steve Pumper. He's with PMA Financials.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I'm trying to keep this short. It actually is a pretty basic item, only because I know the school board's been deliberating about these items for over a year. So what's required to go to the voters is the board to take action. And the item that's in front of you is to hold an election on November 5th with 3 questions. And if Matt, if you go to page 7 of the resolution,
Okay.
that shows or illustrates the 3 questions that will be on the ballot. Your first question, I'll just kind of paraphrase these, but is to ask for $300 per pupil unit of operating referendum authority. So that's going to help your year-by-year revenue sources, and that's for a 10-year period of time, and that's subject to the rate of inflation. Your second question is asking the voters for authorization to sell up to $24.5 million worth of school building bonds, and that's to do some reconstruction of Jordan Elementary School, construction of a new Fuller Learning Services building, construction of a secure entryway and classroom and infrastructure improvements at Jordan High School, and parking and driving access district-wide. And you'll notice that the very first part of that question too, it says for acquisition and betterment of school facilities. So that's really kind of the generic piece, so that, you know, if you have some money left over or there's something else that you're able to do pretty much any type of construction that's going to improve your school's district-wide. But all the basic pieces that you're really going to voters are listed in here as well. And question 2 is subject to question 1 passing. So question 1 passes, question 2 cannot, or sorry, question 1 does not pass, question 2 cannot pass. And then question 3 is contingent on both question 1 and 2, and question 3 is asking the voters to approve the sale to an additional $15 million of school building bonds, and that's to remodel and extend the auditorium at Jordan High School and the construction of a multi-purpose indoor activity facility. The rest of the resolution is really just legal components that's fulfilling other requirements of directing staff to get the ballots printed and get the review and comments submitted to the Commissioner of Education, and all the other requirements that are involved in holding an election. But the main things that, you know, you get as school board members are approving here is you're having 3 questions put on the ballot on November 5th, certifying the polling place, which I know Hope has been involved in a lot, and that's actually just moving right here. Once, if in fact the board approves this resolution tonight, on behalf of the district, I will send this resolution then to the Commissioner of Education, and then to the Scott County Auditor. And then you should be set.
Questions for Mr. Pumper? Anything more?
No, I can give an update on review and comment pieces. So as you probably recall from the last time around, when it relates to school building bonds, you have to submit something called a review and comment to the Minnesota Department of Education. The Commissioner's office reviews that document, determines whether or not it's they feel it is a viable and quality plan, and they either give an approved review and comment, or they can choose to not. You can still move forward with an election if they choose not, but it's probably not a good sign if that occurs. We have a draft completed, so between our financial partners, Mr. Pumper, Mr. Hoheisel, and their offices, and our architects and engineers, both pieces are now in draft form. Our hope is to finalize those pieces this week and get them submitted to the Department of Ed. Our hard deadline was end of July. However, because the Department of Ed is extremely backed up, we'd hope to get that to them sooner, so we're looking at mid-July, which would hopefully satisfy the timeline. We believe will satisfy the timeline for them to get it returned. New legislation, since we built this building, includes the fact that we need to have a public meeting or public hearing. It can be attached to a school board meeting, and that's the way to do it. So after we get the commissioner's response to our review and comment back, then we will put that on our agenda, our future agenda, and give the public an opportunity to review that as well. So since Mr. Pumper brought that up, I thought I'd share that information.
Tom?
What are you seeing for a timeline for them returning those back? 60 days?
Pardon me?
60 days?
Oh,
60.
days, yeah, they have 60 days to return.
Is that what the deal is?
Yeah, so if we submit, whether they get to it or not, I guess it's on their end.
Yeah,
They have to,
yeah.
I mean, by statute, they
Okay,
have to return it.
excellent.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special election ballot, is what I'm doing, correct?
Correct.
correct, okay. And that would be roll call for that, yes, because it's a resolution. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Lauren, discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Andy Burke.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve, do you
Good
have,
luck with it. I know also
Steve?
got a lot of the community meetings coming up.
Okay.
do you have something for me to sign?
Okay.
Just doing the same thing, it's just the dates.
So next we have the resolution calling for the special election to fill the school board vacancy seat. And again, self-explanatory, it's for the election this fall to have the vote to fill the seat that Ryan has been appointed to. So we'll entertain a motion, and again, that election will be on November 5th.
Motion to approve?
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Sandy, discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Andy Burke.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay. We are on to 7.4. Review and act on the publication and posting of the notice for filing dates for the election to the school board of 717.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Let's see, what is this? Is this a resolution also? No, this is not, okay. So I have a motion to approve the notice of the filing dates, which are, begin on Tuesday, July 30th, and close on Tuesday, August 13th. Okay, I have a motion by Lauren. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Connie. Discussion or questions?
I have a
Tom?
question.
I don't know the date. Is the date right? The term of 2 years?
Yeah, that's
Isn't
what I
the
was just
rest
gonna
of
ask. It's-
Jesse's, and it
it's
would go
3
till
years.
22?
It would be 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be.
Term started this year.
Pardon?
Jesse's term started in 2019.
Yep, so and it expires in
But
2022.
he was a 4-year.
He
So
was
he
a
is a
4-year.
4-year, so it would be 3 years.
So he would have 3 more years.
It says 2 years.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
It'd be 3.
This was, this year that we're in now was Jesse's first year of his term. And he was.
January 1.
Yeah,
He's on
so
a 4-year
he's on a 4-year term, so,
Yeah, it's 3.
so it would be 3 more years.
Oh, actually,
Yep,
It's 3.
mm-hmm.
yes.
It's 3 more years.
Yep, because it expires December 31st of 2022.
Yep.
So it'd be
So-
all of 2020,
I'll
all of
make an
2021, and
amendment
all of
to my
20.
motion to,
Yeah.
change paragraph 2 to say, for a term of 3 years.
Okay. And the second was by
Me.
Connie, or who made the second?
Didn't-
I
I
did.
did not.
Connie?
I did.
Okay, so first we have to vote on the amendment. So all those in favor of changing it to a term of 3 years, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so now we will vote on the amended notice. So we have Lauren's motion and Connie's second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Is it a resolution?
No, it's not.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Motion carries.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yes.
Hope, do I need to not sign this then? Do we need to reprint it, or can I just cross it out and put 3?
Really, that's just for our files. I'll send the draft to the paper.
Okay.
Why did you cross it out, just initial?
did.
Initial it, yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, review and act on the 2019-20 high school parent-student handbook. Mr. Visner.
Yeah, I feel like just those are changes on that. So, let me just put the agenda so I can entertain questions you have among them. There's really nothing huge that was changed on here. One interesting one was that, for I don't know how many years, on page 31, we've had the student, over the age of 21
Any questions for Jeff or comments?
I just want to ask a clarifying question because it's my understanding, but as principals, the three of you did get together and do cross-reference of required policy references and things like that, correct?
Yep, we went through that, and that's where we added, it's number 2 on mine, but page 10, we added wording about Minnesota State testing procedures, just to add that in. And basically says that people can opt out, which is basically that piece. We don't want them to, but
Yeah.
they have that option.
So number 5, that was the activity fees that we voted on a couple months ago, the changes to the
Yeah, what I
activity
did
fees.
for,
You just put it generic, though.
For number 5 and for number 7 is I took
Just-
out the activities and athletics stuff out of mine
Mhm.
because it's ever changing, and then,
Right.
so I just put it as reference to
Perfect.
back over to the activities handbook. It makes more sense because then Mr.
Yep.
Kirkle is in charge of that and addressing those things.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
And as long as we brought up activities handbook, you'll review and act on that at the first August meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions at all?
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the high school parent-student handbook with the new changes.
So moved?
Sandy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7.6, the JMS Parent-Student Handbook. Mr. Bakeberg.
So, pretty straightforward from a middle school standpoint as well. There were 18 edits overall. 11 of them were formatting grammatical things that were found, and then you can see the remaining 7 were outlined. And we really talked about them at the last board meeting, some of those updates. So the decisions we made at the last meeting are really the ramifications that played out. So the start time of the day will move from 8:05 to 8. The digital learning day, that's part of the calendar that was approved multiple meetings ago. So those will be on October 16th and then February 27th. The description for that win time, and that's the piece that will allow for band and choir to be for 8th graders to be during that time so that students have elective options. The reach time description added standardized test piece that Jeff talked about, and then a couple other tweaks too. Any questions?
Anything? Nope, doesn't look that way. I'll entertain a motion to approve the middle school parent-student handbook.
Motion to approve?
Tom, is there a second?
Second?
Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and act on the elementary school family student handbook. Melissa?
Good evening. So I'll kind of reference the same thing Jeff and Ben did. Because we had been doing a lot of things with mindfulness at the elementary school, and that had started prior to last year, we handed out a separate informational sheet on that to parents in their back-to-school folders. And so instead of having that separate information, we incorporated it into the handbook. And so what I did is I just changed the academics title of that section to include social emotional learning. And that's where I put our PBIS, that's where I put mindfulness, so that parents just had it in one place rather than copying off multiple documents. Everything else is pretty much standard changes with dates. The field trip piece, one thing we've seen more of is some medical exemptions for riding the school bus. And it's kind of a case by case, but all I did was added in, due to extenuating circumstances, parents can contact me if there's issues with transportation and how students get to field trips. And I worked that out with our school nurses and looking at it being very driven by the medical profession, being able to have that doctor's note.
So just for clarification, Melissa, if there is a student that, for whatever reason, can't ride the bus, do the parents transport, or are we
Yeah,
responsible
So
to
an
transport?
Yeah, so an example would be, my child has severe anxiety and can't ride the school bus. If they have that diagnosis and a parent provides situation is that they have to then transport them. It can't be a friend of a friend, or it can't be those types of things, and that's, one of those things that it's listed in that field trip form.
Okay.
And then we all talked about, the ever-changing technology component of smart devices. I just added and clarified that, I think Ben did too, and just those smart devices that are now, on kids' wrists and, beyond just a cell phone. So that was another just piece of relevance. Any
Okay.
questions?
Questions for Melissa?
Is the air quality in all three handbooks or just yours?
It should be in everybody's.
Okay.
It's just a date update.
Okay.
The asbestos management and air quality, health and safety plan.
Okay, other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye, or I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Connie, is there a second?
Second.
Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Melissa. Okay, review and act on the literacy plan.
I'll ask Melissa and Aaron if she'd like to come up to the podium for the first time. This plan was actually, as you can see at the heading, was one of the last tasks that Carol completed as Director of Teaching and Learning, submitting this plan. And it's often called the Read Well by Third Grade. It's part of the World's Best Workforce plan that all school districts have to submit to the department. And this is our summary and the plan for the next school year. So I've asked them to be here. I think it's important for us to fully, if you take a look at the plan and you look at the results from this past school year and actually the last several school years, our third grade test scores aren't necessarily what we'd like to see. So one of the things that I tasked Melissa and Aaron with is to look at a literacy plan. And we discussed it at our policy meeting tonight actually as well. But one of the things that that we need to address is how do we correct the trend over the last couple of years and address, you know, obviously we want all kids to read at grade level, but why are we seeing the results that we're seeing? So just ask them to address that and summarize the plan.
Well, when Aaron and I met, what we looked at is being able to talk through kind of the why. You know, what are some reasons why this is happening? And we kind of looked at a couple of different areas, which really, when you look at MCAs, one of the things that you are tasked to do is to ask yourself, what is the data telling us? Not only is it telling us achievement levels, but it's also going to challenge us to look at what does it mean for curriculum? What does it mean for instruction? What does it mean for professional development? How do we use the data to make decisions? And so Aaron and I came up with kind of an action plan related to those areas, starting this summer and moving into the fall at staff to be able to look at not only for the elementary, but I think it's a bigger scope of K-12. What do we need to really dig into to help support staff and students with literacy? It's a very complex subject area, you know, that it's sometimes hard to look at from a teacher's lens and figure out where do I start. So we've kind of divided up into just evaluating our standards and where our staff is with those standards and how they're aligned K-12. What do we need to look at with our literacy curriculum? Are there resources that teachers are using, supporting them in their instruction in this, the standards? What data tools are we using to collect information? How do we know students are learning what they need to learn? And when we look at what we currently have, we have a number of data tools, yet are they the right tools? And what's hard at an elementary school, which I'm sure is true at the middle school and high school, individual individual students and where they are at developmentally, social, emotionally, are things that are hard to quantify, but it comes up in these assessments too, and it comes up in the learning. So how do you address that in a place through that teacher's lens? So we have put together a plan here that will guide us in supporting our teachers and supporting our students. So this is kind of our next steps in trying to figure out what is it, if our teachers are in a good place with standards and understanding what students have to know and do, now it's how are we going to help them to teach it? How are we going to measure their effectiveness? And that's what a lot of this has to do.
So you can see that it's something that we want to act on immediately, and it's something that, as we have our administrative retreat Wednesday, it's going to be a piece of that focus, but more importantly, when our teachers return for workshops, I know that Erin has an aggressive plan to ensure that the standards are fully powered, and that we're making sure that those are the things that are being taught in our classrooms. Not that the MCAs are the end-all be-all, but certainly are a measure, and obviously that's a measure that the state looks at. You guys, Erin, do you want to add anything?
One of the first steps is just that goal of continuing the standards-based instruction and making sure, in general, teachers have a great idea of their standards. We're now breaking it down to learning targets, which need to be still aligned K-12. So that's step one. And then the proficiency scales will help teachers see where they're going to land within that standards-based instruction.
Questions or comments?
So Matt, when did we start unpacking the standards? Haven't we been doing that for
My
quite a long
first
time?
year here.
Yeah.
Okay, and from 2013 to 2016, we were trending up, and then have we been able to tell from the data what pinpoints in the data is, what
we're
changed?
missing.
What changed? Was it something in instruction? Was it?
Talk about that. I think part of it is instruction. I think when teachers are tasked with a classroom of 23 kids, there isn't any teacher, this is not just, unique to Jordan. Teachers start the year with the intent of getting all of their kids to grade level. That's what they want to hope and see. I think what I would say we've seen in recent years is that there are a number of factors that come into play, that some we can control and some things we can't. And we have to figure out the ones that we can't control. What do we have to do here at school to manage through them? It could be things that are happening outside of school. It could be things at home, in their environments. It could be looking at it as through that lens of CRT. There are things that kids learn differently, and we have to acknowledge that. And some teachers are in a place of where do I start? I think education has evolved in my time anyways, as far as what we're tasked to do in a school day. And I think literacy is just one piece. And when you try to fit it all in and say, well, how do I get at elementary? How do I get math in? And how do I promote STEM? And how do I honor kids' social emotional learning? Sometimes you're feeling like you're throwing a dart at a dartboard, and you're trying to figure out what is it that this kid needs. Right now, it may not be reading. It may mean that they need more support here for this time, but yet you have to address the reading component.
I guess I'm just kind of looking for something in the data that says, what is the area we're lacking? Because I don't think you guys, I think we just need to figure out what that, because this is just taking it all and putting it together and putting it into a number.
And what's hard about this, Lauren, is MCAs don't always give you a breakdown of what is it in that data. That's where we have to find data tools that will allow us to pinpoint, is it our most at-risk kids that are struggling?
So they don't tell you like the area
No.
of, well, that's kind of.
The MCAs are, what's so frustrating for schools is they give you no help, no tools. You could go to 10 different schools, and their work in standards is all, everybody's working on standards-based instruction, okay? How they go about that, there's probably 10, out of those 10 schools, there's 10 different ways of doing it. And obviously, I think we were really focused on it. I think it's pretty clear. We were drilling standards. And the last couple of years, we've had some retreat sessions. We've talked more about the social emotional side of things. We've talked more about project-based learning and more of that inquisitive type of learning, more of that STEM related. And we haven't probably talked as much in workshops, and Aaron, as a teacher in the district, you could probably attest to this, as we did those first several years. So I think it's trying to figure out, to me, it's trying to figure out how to balance both of them, making sure that our standards are being taught within the style of learning that we want taught. You know, that inquisitive, project-based work. There's a way to teach standards, but it's hard to do that. And I think you gotta find a balance, and that's what I think our plan
You
is.
know, we've brought up other things too, Lauren, where we're like, is it screen time? Is it, you know, kids struggling with that attentiveness and being able to focus and, you know, or is it more of just teaching style? Like, you know, this is the style I'm accustomed to, and I'm expecting kids to change with me versus me changing with kids. I mean, there's all of those things that you could try to look at and pinpoint, but there isn't any way to really dissect the data that allows you to look at it in a way of, is it instructional pieces? Is it, you know, your subgroups of kids that, you know, we need to do something different? It really is local decisions. We have to make those decisions.
Keep in mind, like this year has been, you could answer this better than me, and Jeff, you could answer, or even Aaron, for the high school. This is reading, right? So what's middle school proficiency levels on the MCA reading?